There comes a moment in every life when you realize the only thing standing between who you are and who you could be is a limit you no longer believe in. When you first hear the phrase "rise beyond limits," it might sound like a slogan, a catchy line meant to inspire for a moment and then fade away. But I want you to understand something deeper from the very beginning. Rising beyond limits is not a motivational idea, it is a human obligation. Every one of us is born with a unique combination of challenges, opportunities, gifts, wounds, and potential. What separates those who rise from those who merely exist is not luck, not talent, not privilege, not education, but the willingness to step beyond the invisible boundaries that shape their lives, the boundaries that say you can't, you shouldn't, you're not enough. That's just the way things are. And in the American spirit, a spirit built on reinvention, ambition, resilience, and the refusal to settle, rising beyond limits is woven into the very fabric of the country you call home. To unlock your American potential is not about embracing a nationality, it is about embracing a mindset. It's about understanding that you are part of a long line of people who dared to imagine something better. Pioneers who crossed unknown lands, immigrants who crossed oceans, innovators who crossed the boundaries of imagination itself. If you think your dreams are too big, remember there are people in this country who built rockets in garages, companies in dorm rooms, movements on sidewalks, and personal transformations in moments of complete despair. This land has never been defined by what people already were, only by what they believed they could become. And right now, you are standing at the doorway of your own could become. You may not feel powerful. You may not feel prepared, you may not feel worthy, but the truth is this: nobody feels ready when they begin. Readiness is created by movement, not by waiting. You don't rise by hoping, wishing, or planning alone. You rise by taking the first step, especially when it feels impossible. Think for a moment about the quiet limits that shape your life, the fears you don't talk about, the doubts you wish you didn't have, the memories that still hold power, the expectations placed on you by others, or even worse, by a version of yourself that no longer matches who you want to be. These limits rarely scream, they whisper. They appear in hesitation, in procrastination, in the excuses we wrap in logic, in the goals we shrink so we won't disappoint ourselves. Rising beyond limits begins with honesty, the bravery to acknowledge what has been holding you back, and the commitment to take action before the perfect moment arrives. There will never be a perfect moment. The American landscape is full of people waiting for the perfect moment to change careers, to pursue a dream, to mend a relationship, to start a business, to speak their truth, to reinvent their entire life. But the truth is that moments become perfect only after they pass, because we realize that even our flaws, failures, and fears contributed to our evolution. If you wait for the right moment, you'll wait forever. But if you choose momentum over perfection, your life begins to expand. Rising beyond limits starts with a single question: what version of yourself are you willing to stop being? You cannot rise without releasing the weight that keeps you grounded. Some people hold on to fear because it is familiar. They hold on to old stories because they know them so well, even if those stories hurt. They cling to past failures as if they define their identity. But none of those things define you unless you allow them to. Your past is not a prison. It is a reference point, not a residence, and your future is not determined by who you were, but by who you decide to become next. America is a country built on next chapters, on second chances, on the belief that failure is not the end, but a stepping stone. Here people fall, here people rise. And you must choose to rise, not because it is easy, not because someone guaranteed success, but because you understand that staying where you are is no longer acceptable. Greatness is not born from comfort. It grows in discomfort, discipline, courage, and forward motion. To unlock your American potential is to embrace the uncomfortable truth that growth requires friction. You will question yourself. You will doubt yourself. You will have days where nothing makes sense and nights where you wonder if you made a mistake. But rising beyond limits means walking through the storm with the belief that the sun is waiting on the other side, even if you can't see it yet. Your potential is not a theory. It is not a concept reserved for extraordinary people. It is a force inside you, alive, waiting, and powerful. But potential without commitment becomes regret. Many people carry dreams that die inside them because they never gave themselves permission to act. You must give yourself that permission. Nobody else will. Nobody else can. When you start rising, something remarkable happens. You begin to discover strengths you never knew you had. You realize you can endure more than you believed. You see possibilities where you previously saw obstacles. This is not magic, it is the natural consequence of unclipping the limits you once thought were permanent. The American spirit is built on self-belief, but also on community, on the understanding that you don't rise alone. You rise with support, with guidance, with encouragement. Sometimes you rise because someone else believed in you before you believed in yourself. And sometimes you rise because someone doubted you, and you refuse to let them define your destiny. Let both inspire you, let both fuel you. You are capable of rewriting your story at any point in your life. You are capable of a breakthrough at any age. You are capable of surprising even yourself. Limits are not walls, they are thresholds. Barriers that exist to test the strength of your desire. The moment you push through one, your world expands. You begin to see life differently. You begin to see yourself differently. And you begin to understand that unlocking your potential is not something you do once, it is something you commit to doing every day. I want you to imagine for a moment who you could be 1 year from now if you stopped letting fear make decisions for you. What would your life look like if you replaced hesitation with action, if you replaced excuses with discipline, if you replaced doubt with belief, even when belief feels fragile, if you replaced limitations with possibilities? You don't need permission to live a bigger life. You don't need approval to pursue a dream. You don't need conditions to align before you begin. What you need is courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move despite it. You will rise beyond limits not because you never fall, but because you refuse to stay down. You rise because you choose to. You rise because the alternative, a life of what ifs and I should have, is unacceptable. You rise because you understand that your potential, like the American dream itself, is not given, it is earned through persistence, vision, and resilience, and so your journey starts now, not tomorrow. Not someday. Now in this moment you are standing on the edge of a new beginning, and all you need to do is step forward. Your future is not waiting somewhere far away. It begins with the next choice you make. And the choice after that, and the one after that. This is your moment to rise beyond limits. This is your moment to unlock your American potential. This is your moment to claim the life you were meant to live. When you step into the process of rising, the world around you begins to shift in ways you might not expect. Some people will cheer for you, surprised and inspired by your courage. Others may drift away, uncomfortable with your growth because it challenges their own stagnation. And some will watch silently, waiting to see if you truly mean what you say. All these reactions are normal. They are part of the evolution that occurs when someone chooses to break free from their limits. But remember this, the journey to becoming the strongest version of yourself is not a group activity. It is a personal decision supported by collective possibilities. Every step you take toward your own potential gives someone else permission to do the same. You may not realize it, but your rising creates a ripple effect. A parent becomes more hopeful because you are proving that change is possible. A friend gains confidence because they see you taking control of your life. A younger sibling starts to dream bigger because your actions expanded the definition of what is achievable. This is how impact works, not always through loud speeches or public victories, but through quiet examples of perseverance. American potential is not a claim to superiority. It is a testimony that reinvention is always possible. It is the idea that no matter where you start, whether in privilege or poverty, opportunity or adversity, clarity or confusion, you can redirect the course of your life. This potential is not guaranteed, but it is available. And once you decide to reach for it, you begin to see opportunities that were invisible before. You start noticing solutions where you once saw only problems. You begin to find pathways that were hidden behind your own self-doubt. Limits crumble when you challenge them, but they return when you stop. That is why rising is not a moment, it is a habit. You must wake up each day with the understanding that your mind will try to pull you back into comfort. Comfort is tempting because it feels familiar, predictable, and safe. But comfort is also the silent assassin of potential. It whispers, "You've done enough." When you know you haven't, it says, "Maybe tomorrow," when tomorrow is not promised. It convinces you that your dreams can wait, even though time never slows down for anyone. To rise beyond limits, you need to build the internal strength to resist the pull of comfort. This strength is not discipline alone, it is purpose. Discipline without purpose becomes punishment, but discipline fueled by purpose becomes power. When you know why you are rising, you rise with intention. When you know what you are fighting for, the fight becomes worth it. When you know the life you want to create, sacrifice becomes investment. There will be days when you feel tired, days when progress feels invisible, days when you question whether any of this effort is making a difference. But even on those days, you must remember that growth happens in the unseen. A seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It grows roots first silently, invisibly, relentlessly. You, too, are growing roots, roots of resilience, roots of courage, roots of persistence. And when the time is right, the results will reveal themselves. You rise by honoring your vision, even when nobody else sees it. You rise by building habits that support your future, not your past. You rise by refusing to negotiate with fear, because fear is persuasive, but you are powerful. And you rise by holding yourself to a higher standard, not because someone demanded it, but because you finally believe you deserve more. Unlocking your American potential is not about chasing success according to someone else's definition. It is about defining success on your own terms. For some, success means financial freedom. For others, it means impact, creativity, peace, health, or legacy. Whatever your definition is, own it. You cannot rise if you are climbing someone else's ladder. Your potential expands every time you take responsibility for your life. Responsibility is not blame, it is ownership. Ownership is freedom. When you take ownership of your decisions, your habits, your outcomes, and your reactions, you reclaim control from the world around you. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop waiting for someone to choose you. You realize you have the power to choose yourself, and choosing yourself is the first declaration of rising. When you choose yourself, something powerful begins to change in the way you walk through the world. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop pretending that your dreams are unrealistic just because they scare people who never dared to chase their own. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. It is the foundation of every break through you will ever experience. And when you make that choice consistently, you step into a new identity, not the identity the world handed you, but the one you create through intention, effort, and unwavering belief. There will be people who don't understand your rising. They may question your decisions, not because you are wrong, but because your growth highlights their fear of change. You cannot shrink yourself to stay acceptable to those who refuse to evolve. If someone is meant to be part of your future, they will grow with you. If not, they were part of your past, and your past does not get to dictate your destiny. The journey of unlocking your potential requires courage, not the loud courage of big, dramatic moments, but the quiet courage of everyday decisions. The courage to get out of bed when you feel discouraged. The courage to work on your goals even when progress is slow. The courage to say no to distractions, temptations, and old habits that sabotage your future. The courage to keep going when no one is watching. The courage to believe in yourself when doubt whispers the loudest. These small acts of courage accumulate into transformation. Every dream you carry comes with responsibility. Not the burden of pressure, but the responsibility to honor your calling. You were not given your dreams by accident. They are signals, directions, invitations. They are glimpses of the person you are capable of becoming. When you ignore a dream, you aren't avoiding failure, you are abandoning a part of yourself that was meant to rise. But when you pursue a dream, even imperfectly, the world begins to open for you. Progress is rarely linear. Some days you will move forward with momentum that feels unstoppable. Other days you will feel like you are walking through mud, dragging your hope along with you. But remember this, movement is movement. Progress is progress. As long as you keep going, you are rising. As long as you refuse to quit, you are unlocking new layers of your potential. And as long as you stay committed, the version of you who once felt limited will not even recognize the person you are becoming. Failure will not break you unless you give it permission to. In America and in life, failure is not a badge of shame. It is part of the process. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you have tried. They did not succeed because they were flawless. They succeeded because they were relentless. Failure is information. It teaches, redirects, sharpens, strengthens, and prepares you. When you understand that failure is not final, you stop fearing it. You start using it, and when you use failure, it becomes fuel. Your mind is the greatest tool you have in rising beyond limits. It can be your ally or your enemy, depending on how you train it. A weak mind creates excuses. A strong mind creates solutions. A weak mind limits you. A strong mind frees you. A weak mind focuses on what is missing. A strong mind focuses on what is possible. You strengthen your mind the same way you strengthen your body through repetition. Through pushing past comfort, through showing up even when you don't feel like it, through feeding it with thoughts that empower your purpose instead of thoughts that sabotage it. You must speak to yourself with the language of the future you want, not the past you survived. Too many people rehearse their pain more than their potential. They replay old stories of failure, rejection, trauma, and disappointment until those stories become their identity. But you are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. You are the person who survived, learned, grew, and rose. And you have the right, the responsibility to create new stories that reflect the strength you now carry. To rise beyond limits, you must embrace patience. Not passive patience that waits without action, but active patience that understands growth takes time. There is a difference between slow progress and no progress. If you are moving, even inch by inch, you are winning. The roots of your transformation are forming beneath the surface. Trust the process, trust the timing, trust yourself. The seeds you plant today will become the victories you celebrate tomorrow. You will meet challenges that test the depth of your commitment. You will face moments where giving up seems easier than continuing, but the truth is this: quitting will hurt far more in the long term than struggling does now. Pain of discipline is temporary. Pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Choose the pain that builds you. Choose the discomfort that strengthens you. Choose the struggle that leads to growth. Every challenge you overcome becomes part of the foundation that supports your future. Greatness is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. It is built through daily choices, repeated efforts, and consistent alignment with your highest self. When you hold yourself accountable, when you choose integrity, when you honor your goals, when you stay true to your vision, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easy, but because you become stronger, wiser, more resilient, and more focused. Your American potential is unlocked not by chance, but by change, not by wishing, but by working. Not by dwelling on limits, but by rising above them, and you are rising even if you don't feel it yet. Every decision you make to grow is a declaration of power. Every step you take toward your future is a victory. Every moment you choose courage over comfort is a breakthrough. And with every breakthrough, you move closer to the life you were born to create. As you continue rising, you will begin to feel a shift inside yourself, a quiet confidence that does not need validation, applause, or proof. This confidence is not arrogance, it is awareness, awareness of your strength, your growth, your discipline, and your direction. When you begin to trust your own abilities, you stop relying on approval from others. You stop asking for permission, you stop waiting for signs to begin. You understand that the greatest sign you will ever receive is the calling inside you that refuses to be ignored. This inner confidence becomes one of your greatest weapons against doubt and fear. But confidence is not the same as certainty. You can be confident and still unsure. You can be confident and still afraid. You can be confident and still learning. Rising beyond limits does not require you to know every step, only the next one. The path reveals itself through movement. The more you walk, the more you see. The more you try, the more you learn. The more you commit, the more clarity you gain. This is how journeys work. Clarity is earned through action, not contemplation. You cannot think your way into your potential. You must act your way into it. America is filled with stories of people who started with nothing but a spark, a desire, an idea, a calling, and built something extraordinary. Not because they had a perfect plan, but because they had relentless persistence. They understood that success does not come to the most talented or the most gifted. It comes to the most committed. It comes to the ones who decide that quitting is not an option. You have that same power, you have that same potential, you have that same ability to build a life that reflects your highest vision. As you rise, you will need to protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves to hear your plans. Not everyone will understand your journey. Protect your peace as fiercely as you protect your dreams. Surround yourself with people who fuel your growth, not those who drain your spirit. Seek out those who challenge you to become better, not those who feel threatened by your evolution. You become like the people you spend time with, so choose wisely. Your environment can either reinforce your limits or elevate your potential. Sometimes rising requires letting go. Letting go of old habits, old patterns, old identities. Letting go of guilt, letting go of fear, letting go of expectations that no longer reflect who you are becoming. Letting go is not loss, it is preparation. You cannot carry the weight of your past into a future that demands your strength. You must lighten your load. You must free yourself from attachments that keep you stuck. You must release the version of yourself that was built for survival, so you can embrace the version that is built for success. There will be moments when you stand at a crossroads, the choice between who you were and who you are becoming. These moments define your trajectory. They test your loyalty to your future. Choosing the familiar path may feel safe, but it leads you back to the same results. Choosing the growth path may feel uncomfortable, but it leads you to transformation. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you upgrade your life. Every time you choose purpose over distraction, you strengthen your character. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, you rise. Unlocking your potential requires understanding that the world does not owe you anything, but it offers you everything if you are willing to work for it. Opportunity is real, but it favors those who prepare, those who persist, those who refuse to give up. Potential is real, but it rewards those who show up consistently. Success is real, but it belongs to those who are willing to sacrifice, adapt, and evolve. You have everything inside you to rise: the resilience, the imagination, the strength, the determination. You simply have to activate it. You are not defined by your circumstances, you are defined by your choices. You are not limited by your environment, you are expanded by your mindset. You are not controlled by the world around you, you are empowered by the world within you. And the world within you is limitless. It is rich with ideas, courage, dreams, desires, and possibilities. The more you explore it, the more you unlock. The more you unlock, the more you rise. And the more you rise, the more your life transforms. Your future self is waiting for you, the version of you who is stronger, wiser, more confident, more fulfilled, more aligned, and more capable than you have ever imagined. That future self is not a fantasy, it is a blueprint. Every decision you make today is either moving you closer to that version or pulling you further away. And you owe it to yourself deeply, fully, unapologetically to move closer, to act in ways that honor your potential, to think in ways that empower your journey, to live in ways that reflect your purpose. Your rise will not be perfect. You will make mistakes, you will stumble, you will question yourself. That's human. That's normal. That's part of the path, but imperfection is not a reason to stop. It is a reason to continue. It is evidence that you are trying, learning, and evolving. The people who achieve greatness are not the people who avoid mistakes, they are the people who refuse to let mistakes define them. The only real limit that exists is the one you accept, and today you are choosing not to accept it. You are choosing to rise. You are choosing to unlock your potential. You are choosing to create a future that reflects your highest possibility. And that decision, that single decision, has already begun to reshape your life. As you continue walking this path of transformation, you will reach a moment, not a dramatic moment, not a loud moment, but a quiet one where you suddenly realize you have become the person you once prayed, hoped, or dared to imagine. It won't happen in an instant. It will reveal itself gradually through the way you speak, the way you make decisions, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle challenges that once overwhelmed you. You will notice that you no longer react with fear but respond with wisdom. You no longer shrink when faced with difficulty. You stand taller, strengthened by everything you've overcome. This moment, the moment you recognize your evolution, is the real reward of rising beyond limits. You will see that the limits you once believed were immovable were nothing more than temporary barriers built by doubt, fear, and inexperience. And now you, through courage and consistent action, have torn them down. You will look back at old versions of yourself with gratitude, not shame, because those versions survived long enough for you to grow past them. You will look back at your struggles and see not pain but power, because those struggles shaped the strength you carry now. And when you reach this point, you will understand something profound. Rising beyond limits is not just about what you gain, it is about who you become. It is about becoming someone who refuses to settle, someone who leads their own life with purpose, someone who inspires others simply by existing authentically. When you rise, you become a light in a world that often forgets its capacity for hope. When you rise, you show others that transformation is possible for them too. When you rise, you contribute not just to your own story, but to the collective story of what's possible in the human experience. There will come a time when you realize you are no longer chasing your potential, you are living it. You are speaking with conviction, acting with intention, moving with confidence, and choosing with clarity. You are no longer waiting for opportunities.